Hey, Ellie, welcome to the Isn't Her Money Show.
Hey, Ellie.
Hey, thank you for having me.
We're super glad to have you here because you've done something that a whole lot of people would really love to do. And that is you have paid off a bunch of debt, not just any debt, but in that debt is you are also mortgage debt free. You crushed your mortgage. And so we're super glad that you're able to come on the show and kind of talk about your story. But before we jump into your story, can you just take a moment and say hello to everyone and let them know what you're all about?
I sure can. I'm Ellie. I'm 30 years old, and I live in East Tennessee with my husband and my 7-year-old stepdaughter. We both work full time. We've been married about 2.5 years now. My husband's a police officer, and I work in an office. I also have my blog, elliemondelli.com, and I started it in September of 2016 because I was just going to do monthly updates for how much mortgage principal we paid off. But here we are now, and I'm documenting our journey to financial independence.
Love it. Love it. So talk about that debt that you were in. So give us all the details. What type of debt was it? How much debt was it? And how long did it take you to pay it off?
We'd have to go back a ways because ever since I was 18, I've been in and out of debt. My first loan was actually co-signed by my dad for $1,500 to fix my Mustang that I'd recently wrecked. And then later on, I got a new car, went into debt for that, became debt-free, got another car, went into debt for that. My house, when I bought it, it was a $90,000 mortgage. And then when my husband and I got married in April 2016, we decided to follow Dave Ramsey's baby steps. The only debt that he brought into the marriage was my engagement ring, and he owed about $1,000 on it. So we paid it off as soon as we got back from the wedding. And then we reached baby step 6 in August, so about 4 months later, and we decided to start living on one of our 2 incomes until we got it paid off. We were going to use the other income strictly as mortgage principal. And we thought it would take 2 years, but it just took 17 months. And we made our final payment in January of this year. So our total mortgage when we started was $77,135.
It's amazing. And you paid that off in 17 months?
Crazy.
17
Wow.
months, yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.
So what was it that kind of switched things up for you? Because you talked about how early you were in debt, out of debt, in debt, out of debt. So you got introduced to debt pretty early. Then all of a sudden you became a mortgage crusher. Like, where did the change happen? How did the change happen? How did you go to from being accustomed to acquiring debt to putting all of your energy to getting rid of debt?
The change happened when my husband and I got engaged. We knew that if we were living in one place and had 2 incomes, that we could really take advantage of that. And so we made the decision that we never wanted to live on more than 1 income. And we wanted to get to a place where we could live on less than the lower income, which is what we're doing now that we're debt free.
So can you talk about the mindset that you guys had to put yourself in? I mean, you were just newlyweds. I mean, we know what that's like. Getting married, you know, you want to see the world, you want to go out a lot on date nights and things like that. But you guys decided to pay off this debt right after getting married. So talk about that. Talk about the mindset that you had to put yourself in. Talk about the conversations that you guys had to have in order to accomplish this.
The conversations, it was really just part of the ebb and flow of life for us. We never really just sat down and had a serious conversation about money or anything like that. We both we didn't want to work forever. And we knew that if we wanted to be able to retire early from our jobs and travel more and just have a less stressful life, then we needed to make that first step of paying off our house. We just knew it was something we needed to do.
Was it something that you and your husband, like when you all made the decision, like, this is what we're going to do, we're going to live on 1 income, we're going to put all our energy into debt? Was it just like smooth sailing? Did everything go according to plan? Were there some additional conversations that you had, like when you first started? Did everything go according to plan? Did you all have to do some remixing? What was it like at the very beginning when you all were trying to make your lifestyle in a way that was conducive for debt payoff?
In the beginning, I was a little strict about the budget. I wanted to have us both sit down every week and go through what we spent and balance our budget together. And my husband wasn't really interested in all that. He was very happy for me to just take care of that part of it and move on. So we kind of found our swing of things later on, and I started just balancing the budget throughout the week and just making sure that we were staying on track. As far as anything coming up, not really. It was like the universe conspired to help us, it seemed like, because my husband started getting a lot of overtime right after we started, and we were able to cut off several months from our goal. We even cash flowed plane tickets and hotels for the FIFA World Cup in Russia while we were paying off our mortgage. So somehow we had pretty smooth sailing.
Nice. I love how you talked about that. You guys were still able to do things and go on vacation. I think a lot of times people think that when they're on this journey of getting out of debt, like that stops all the fun. Like you can't go on vacations, you can't do certain things, but you definitely can. You just budgeted. So I love that. Talk about how this entire process has affected your marriage. How did it affect your communication and just your marriage overall?
It's been wonderful. We know that we can do anything we want to. We've found that we're a really good team. We found what he's better at and what I'm better at. And the money side of things is definitely, he lets me lead on that. That's definitely something I care about more. Our communication, we just, whatever comes up, we talk about it. It's never really been an issue, really.
What was the hardest part of your journey to debt freedom?
The hardest part of the journey, I guess starting out, it was a little difficult because nobody we knew was doing anything remotely close to what we were doing. So we didn't really have anybody to talk about with it. Anytime I talked to my family, they just would kind of change the subject. It wasn't really something they were interested in. It helped when I created my Instagram and found the debt-free community on Instagram, because I found other people who were like-minded and who were on similar paths. And I found a few other people who were paying off their mortgage. And that definitely helped me stay in the right mindset.
Yeah, that support is definitely needed. And you brought up part of my next question. Did you announce this to your family or friends? Like when you guys are about to do this journey, hey guys, this is what we're doing and we're going to solicit, your support. And what was that like?
We didn't really announce it. It would just come up in conversation, especially the things that we were saying no to. So say that I know my parents one time wanted to go to a concert in a different state, and we were saying, no, that's not really in the budget for us right now. We're trying to pay off our mortgage. And my dad especially, he thinks that you'll just always have debt. So he didn't see the point in trying to pay any of it off. So we don't really understand each other on that. Now that we've done it, nobody really talks about money in front of us. It gets kind of awkward sometimes because I guess they know that we know they don't have to have the debt that they have, but they like to justify it. So now that we're mortgage free, we haven't really announced that either. Again, it kind of came up in conversation. They know, but it's nothing anybody talks about.
Talk about some of the practical things that you and your husband did. We know that you all were intentional about living your life in a way that your lifestyle only required one income and you used the other income as a weapon against your mortgage. Were there some other practical things that you all did that allowed you to pay off your mortgage in just 17 months?
Yeah, I would say the budget, the zero-based budget, it's just an Excel sheet that I put together and use. And I go through every weekday morning and I update that and make sure that we're staying on track. Living on the one income, that was definitely a huge part of it. And just having the discipline to say no to things that we knew we could do later on. We knew it was short term that we were missing out on them. Also, I took Facebook off my phone because I knew my friends' feeds were just full of vacation pictures and new cars and things like that might make me jealous. So instead, I really just focused on the Instagram I created for my blog and just followed people who motivated me and inspired me. And that really helped stay focused.
So talk about that moment when you guys made that last debt payment on your mortgage.
It was not the day I expected it to be. I expected fireworks, I think. I expected, something wonderful. It was kind of a boring day. I worked that morning and then I had a doctor's appointment and went to the bank after that. And my bank is very unorganized, so they took forever trying to get it done. And nobody there congratulated me or anything like that. My husband was working all day, so I went by after that and gave him a hug and went home and wrote a blog post about it. That was about it. We just moved on.
So, I mean, it's still incredible. It still had to be like, because I remember when we did it, it was this feeling of just, it felt surreal. Like, did it really just happen? Because you've been in grind mode for month after month after month. It's all about getting rid of the mortgage and every dollar's going toward the mortgage. And then that wasn't the case anymore. Like that day just felt unbelievable. So for you, even though it wasn't like, it didn't have the fireworks, like internally, like what were some of the emotions, some of the thoughts that you were having once you realized that this really did happen?
Especially when the following month came and it was, you no longer had to make that payment, towards that mortgage.
Yeah, I think that was the big thing because we paid it off on January 29th. So the new budget for the next month started like 2 days later. And it was really nice taking that line item off the budget and not having that anymore and suddenly having all that extra money to do stuff with. And we switched our incomes pretty instantly for the budget and started budgeting just $2,400 a month, which is lower than the lesser of our two incomes. But as far as the feeling, I don't think it really hit me until we bought a bed for the first time after we paid off our mortgage. It's something we had been doing without. And I was laying in that bed the first night and I was like, I own this house. I own the roof over my head right now. I own this bed. I own the land. I own everything here. And that was when it hit me, I think.
So you didn't have a bed, Ellie?
We had a bed, but it was my granny's guest room bed from when I was in like high school. It was extremely old and uncomfortable.
So you all were just willing to do whatever was necessary to get that mortgage gone.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah. So tell our, those that are listening, our audience, tell them, why was it important for you and your husband to pay off your mortgage? Because again, there are a lot of people that feel like you'll always have a mortgage, you'll always have debt, like you said, in your life. And it's not really important to pay off your mortgage. Why was it so important that you guys own your home?
It was important to us because we wanted that safety net. If one of us lost our jobs now, we'll be okay. Nothing will change at all. Our lifestyle won't change at all. We won't even have to touch our emergency fund. And it's because we own our home. We don't have any payments anymore to make. And if we wanted to take that next step to save money and to invest in rental properties like we want to, then we just wanted that. We wanted that part of it done first. We didn't feel that we could move on until it was done. And plus, I had been following Dave Ramsey since I was about 19. So it was so ingrained in me that that was just the next step to take.
It's time to get your life insurance together with Legal & General America. As one of the nation's leaders in low-cost, high-quality life insurance to over 1.3 million families, we know how to protect you. For nearly 7 decades, we've been the first and only carrier to add 10 more years of security to our policies for a total of 40 years of life insurance coverage. If you need basic protection until retirement, that deal is perfect. Legal & General America makes understanding and applying for life insurance easy. Our agents are standing by to help you determine the best coverage to fit your family's needs. Visit hisandhermoney.com/LGA to get started on your journey toward financial wellness.
30 years old and you have a paid off house. I mean, that is incredible. So how does life feel now? Because like you said, it's been several months since that day came where you paid the house off and you've had some time to kind of live life beyond the mortgage. How does life look now compared to when you were first starting your journey to debt freedom?
Peaceful. Very peaceful. We, after we paid it off, we started doing some home updates that we had been holding off on. We went to Russia for 2 weeks. We bought a new lawnmower, got a new to us truck. We just did a lot of things that we had sacrificed during that journey. And now, starting on September 1st, we have a new savings goal where we're saving $100,000 to purchase our first rental property. And that should take 2 years or less. So I think that's what I'm most excited about, is finally being able to start on a goal of getting a cash flowing asset for the first time.
And will you guys be paying cash for this rental property, or will the $100,000 be like a down payment? So you'll be paying cash?
We'll be paying cash. Houses are really cheap around here. My house, it's 2,600 square feet, and I paid $100,000 for it. And that was not even 5 years ago. So I know the market has changed a little bit since then, but a small rental house, it shouldn't be an issue.
And what state do you live in again?
We're in East Tennessee.
Awesome. Jeez, amazing.
So what are some things that you and your husband are putting into place now to hit this savings goal of $100,000 in 2 years?
We bring home about $6,000 each month, but we're only budgeting and living on $2,400 per month. So we're saving, in September, we saved 63% of our take-home pay. So we're saving over $4,000 per month. So it should just take a couple of years.
And how are you all going about, or are you all diversifying your investment? Is the whole goal investment wise strictly real estate, or do you also put some money into the stock market? Like, what is your investing philosophy moving forward?
What we're doing right now is focusing on real estate, and we contribute enough to our 401ks just to get the match from our employers so we don't miss out on that free money. And then everything else we're saving to buy our first house. So
you all are just putting this money in the savings account, and then once you all hit your goal, the plan is to start looking around and shopping?
Yeah, it's in an Ally savings account. We'll probably start looking maybe around $60,000, just keep our eyes open for a good deal. And then once we get our house and get everything settled with that, we plan to take the rent from that house and add it with our savings and just keep snowballing until we get more houses.
So what has been the biggest life lesson that you've learned along your debt-free journey?
Biggest life lesson is that my husband and I can do anything that we want to. We work together really well. Something else I think I learned is that if strangers are supporting you more than your family and friends, then you're probably on the right track, which is kind of sad to say. But I think that was probably the biggest thing I took away from it.
I like that statement, but I want you to unpack it a little bit more. When you say, I think that's a powerful statement, that if your friends and family, if strangers are supporting you more than your friends and family, you're probably on the right track. Break that down for us.
What I mean by that is if I tell anybody in my family or any of my friends that we saved over $4,000 in September, for example, they would probably just make a joke, just say, hey, lend me some money or something like that. Just make a joke out of it and then probably change the subject. But being in the debt-free community on Instagram and having my blog, the comments that I get every time I make a post are so supportive. People just cheer you on and tell you that you're doing amazing things. And it's just not anything I get from anybody in our real life. I think they feel a little threatened by it because it's just not something they're willing to do.
Why do you think that is? And how can we change that? Because I know probably if you're like us, when we experienced that freedom, we wanted everybody around us to experience it. And so we were so do you know gung-ho. We wanted to tell everybody. And we had some similar reactions to what you experienced. Why do you think that is? And what do you think we can do possibly to get people? Because like you said, you can reach out to total strangers, tell them your story, and they're inspired. There's people listening to your story right now that's getting ready to go home and make some plans to get in the position to do what you and your husband have done. But it's hard to get that same response from people who know us. Why do you think that is?
I think the people that I'm surrounded by, they really like their toys and they really like expensive things. And I'm not sure what the root of that is. I'm not sure if it's just a lack of education. They just don't know any better. They just do maybe what their parents did. I just know a lot of people think that they deserve these things for working hard. I just wish that they could see that they deserve not having to work their entire lives, not have to work until they were old, and that they deserve to be able to be financially independent and do the things that they actually care about, not the things that they have to do to make a living. So I'm not sure what the answer is. Maybe more education from a younger age. I'm not sure. I just know people aren't willing to give up their very expensive trucks and cars and things like that.
Talk about the role that the budget has had on you guys becoming debt free. But now, how is the budget? What role does it play as well too? Is it just equally as important as it was while you guys were trying to pay off this mortgage?
Yeah, I'd say it's even more important because we're living on less now than we were when we had the mortgage. When we had the mortgage, I think we were living on about 30, maybe 3,400 a month, I think. And now we're living on 2,400 a month. So it's actually a little tighter than it was, just because we are trying to save so fast for our first rental. Sorry if y'all can see my cat back there popping around.
It's okay. Now, you bring up a good point. Now, the fact that you guys are living off less, what are some things that you have possibly taken out of your budget now than you were when you all were paying off your mortgage? Is it like less spending money now, or?
Yeah, maybe a little less spending money. Our pocket money has stayed pretty low. My husband and I both get $20, or sometimes I won't even give myself any pocket money because all we use it for is just going out to eat.
Is that a month or a week?
A month. So it's just the rare occasion where something comes up and you have to go out to eat with a coworker or something like that, or your boss, and it'll cover that. We don't really buy clothes very much unless it's just something that comes up that we need. I mean, our closets are fully stocked. Some months are harder than others. For example, October with Halloween and buying costumes and going to haunted houses and things like that. It takes up a chunk of the budget, but it really just varies month to month. We keep a list in our phones of things that we want to put in the budget for the upcoming month. And then when we sit down to put the budget together, we just go down the list and prioritize as we go.
What's your ultimate real estate goals? You said we're just going to keep going. You're going to save up, get one, save up, get one. What's your ultimate goal if everything, went according to plan? What would your real estate portfolio look like? And what made you all decide to kind of go all in on real estate in as far as a wealth building strategy?
The reason we chose real estate is just because we're control freaks. I don't really like the idea of putting my money into the stock market just because I don't know what people are doing. I don't know what the CEOs of those companies are doing. I just don't know. But with real estate, we know what we're buying. We know the work that we're putting into it. We know the tenant that would be getting into it. And with my husband being a police officer, there's not really much of a chance for us to get any bad tenants, which helps. As far as our ultimate goal, we don't have a number in mind. With this first one, we want to see how it goes. We may not even like real estate. You don't know until you try it. But that's our plan for right now. We just want to be able to hit a cash flow number to match one of our incomes so that we don't have to work. And right now we live on $2,400 a month. So I don't think it would take very many.
What are some book recommendations that you have for those that are looking to get out of debt or just life in general?
I always recommend 2 books. The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey for anybody looking to get out of debt, because that'll give them the plan. And then I'll also recommend Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, because that'll give them the spark. That book shows that whatever you think is what you can do.
If someone was listening to your story right now and is super excited for what you and your husband have been able to accomplish, they think that's great, but they're not sure if, based on their own situation and their own circumstances, if they have what it takes to do what you've done. What words of encouragement would you offer to that person if you could talk to them one-on-one?
If I could talk to them one-on-one, I would tell them to start with their why, because if you have a big enough why, you're going to figure out how to make it happen. And for some people, it's not so motivating thinking about what they can have later on if they become debt-free. Like for me, it's great to think that I could quit my job and decide what I want to do. That sounds great. But what's more motivating for me is what I'm running from, because I don't want to work the rest of my life. So that's more motivating thinking about it that way. I would also tell somebody to turn off the TV. Don't watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Don't hit the explore button on Instagram, because you're just going to find a lot of things to get jealous about. And just really limit what is filling your senses. Listen to financial podcasts. Join the debt-free community on Instagram, and just follow people who are motivating you, at least for the first few months while you get adjusted into your new goal.
So tell our audience more about your site and where they can stay in contact with you.
Well, I'm on elliemondelli.com, and that's ELLIE, Mondelli with no E at the end. A lot of people put an E at the end. So it's MONDELLI. And you can also find me on Instagram at Ellie Mondelli. And my site is basically just our journey. I don't tell anybody else what to do, and I just document what we go through along the way.
And we'll be sure to have links to your website as well as the books that you mentioned earlier in the show notes of this episode. So we are just so impressed with the fact that you are 30 and debt-free, mortgage-free, building wealth. And I'm sure that everybody listening is super inspired and encouraged by your story as well. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to share it with our audience today.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for having me.